These are the words of Abraham Lincoln. All that harms labor is treason to America. No line can be drawn between these two. If any man tells you he loves America, yet hates labor, he is a liar. If any man tells you he trusts America, yet fears labor, he is a fool. There is no America without labor. This is a story of a ball and chain, of a law called Taft-Hartley, of what slave. This is a story about you, your job, your freedom as a working man. This is a story that starts almost 10 years ago. When it came to using or making fighting weapons of all kinds, or of turning out war goods for the arsenal of democracy, American men and women met every test. When the nation called on its workers to do heavy-duty production, to learn new skills and new crafts, to handle new machines, and to work all hours. Graveyard shifts and overtime. Our nation's workers came through handsomely. When it came to the crucial job of delivering the goods, America's merchant seamen had what it takes too. They braved every hazard and came through. They bested the seas and beat the storms and ran the gauntlet of German submarines. Those who came through alive, those who died, were equally heroes in the eyes of a grateful nation. The end of World War II and the start of the atomic age came at the same time. With both came the promise of a better life for America's workers and fighting men. Instead of U-boats, Union rights. Instead of panzers, pork chops. But 2 short years after Hiroshima, Congress dropped its own atom bomb, the Taft-Hartley Law, dropped it on America's workers and their unions. Here indeed was a strange weapon in the arsenal of democracy. Congress tried to make the Taft-Hartley Law sound fair and high-minded, but don't be confused about what this law really does to you and your union. It smashes the hiring hall and bans all other legitimate closed shops. It means that ship owners, any employers, don't have to hire union members anymore. It's you of the right to have free and independent elections, to elect the union leaders you want, to select your own officials. It restricts your right to strike. It cuts down the reasons for which you may picket a plant or boss. It stops your union from taking any political action to better your living conditions or improve your working conditions. It opens the door to the old-fashioned device of the strike-breaking injunction. It brings back the days of the shipping crimps, the shape-up, and the dog-eat-dog battles for jobs. It restores the sweatshop and the inhuman conditions we spent years wiping out. With the sweatshop comes the speed-up and the back-breaking rat race to meet quotas. With slave labor come thinks and labor spies once again. Long hours with lawyers and legal experts are needed to unravel the complicated and hidden repressions of all slave labor laws. These hours could otherwise be spent fighting to protect and extend the better wages and working conditions won only after long years of union struggles. Slave labor laws, and they may bear any name, would turn back the clock. Back into fashion would come the same kind of terror and police brutality that was loosed on union workers in the Black Memorial Day massacre at Republic Steel in Chicago, and the infamous Hollywood strike battles some years back. Take a good look at these scenes just to refresh your memory. This is the face of fascism in America. This is the iron heel of big business that we blunted when we built the CIO. This is the jackboot of Nazi-style labor relations that we fought and died to smash in World War II. But legal fascism, slave labor law, is with us today. This is but the first step on the Nazi road. The 6th Convention of the NMU declared, any idea that the unions can live with a slave law is suicide. Capitulation to the law is out. To do otherwise would destroy our union. A convention resolution called for using whatever tactics might be necessary on or off the job to preserve the union and repeal the rotten law. The first line of action was a parade, a giant Veto Day parade. Union labor flexed its muscles, massed and marched shoulder to shoulder, marched for 16 solid hours, marched 100,000 strong to tell Congress, down with that ball and chain law. Union leaders took the stump, strode the platform, outlined the danger, and called for action. Union officials led the rank and filers in street rallies and parades like this one, which ended at Madison Square Garden in New York with a huge meeting. At such meetings, local figures, community leaders, and labor spokesmen were joined in a common front. To a man, they opposed undemocratic anti-union laws. and the crowds roared their endorsement. These actions and the election campaign brought the promise of results. Repeal forces, headed by President Truman, were swept into office. Labor political action groups were credited with the Dewey defeat and the setback to pro-Taft-Hartley congressmen. Again, Union men and women looked forward to a program of civil rights for all, more housing, better health legislation, social benefits, and broad union protection. But from Election Day to Contract Day, the promises went down the Washington scuppers. Union leaders faced contract deadlines and new negotiations, with a hostile Congress lousing up repeal of the slave law, with the NLRB ruling that the hiring hall was totally illegal. What's the answer? More demonstrations like these, more mass protest by the rank and file to get the Taft-Hartley rules off the law books. There hasn't been enough action, enough passing the word aboard ship and on the beach. Not enough action in the shops and on the street corners to explain the vicious effects of the slave laws. Not enough pressure on congressmen, both good and bad, through letters, postcards, and grassroots expression of opinion. Not enough mail filling the post boxes and loading the mail sacks and piling up on congressmen's desks. Not enough NMU men going aboard docks and ships of other unions and mobilizing them for united action, for common defense of the union bargaining rights of all workers. Not enough wires and telegrams and petitions like this to the president, to senators and representatives. There haven't been enough delegations in person to Washington to fight all versions of the original slave labor law. Not enough in-person voices drenching legislators with a flood of demands for much-needed union protection and social legislation. Not enough work by the folks back home to get local editors to print the truth about unions and slave labor effects. Not enough attention paid to getting the facts into the hands of folks at home so they can give these editors the right score. Union men of all affiliations must close ranks, must present a solid front to ship owners, employers, and labor-hating legislators on the one hand, and labor czars and racketeers on the other. Workers from the ships and shops, the fields and the factories, the offices and the out-of-doors have to march to defeat all slave labor acts. All union members, women and men, old and young, west and east, have to work indoors and outdoors during and after working hours to turn the social legislation from a promise to a reality. All the rank and file of labor, whether you use your hands or your wits, your brain or your brawn, your muscles or your machines, must organize to win a full program of civil rights. But all this can't be done by lying on your back, by loafing, or by wishing it would come true. Lie on your back today, lie in a pool of blood tomorrow. This was Bloody Thursday, a black day for union men. Mark it well. You've got to work to cut out a repeat performance. This was the Hollywood terror. Anti-union bosses will say, "You're next," unless you get wise and get moving. This was Memorial Day massacre. 10 died outside the gates of Republic Steel. You may be on the next death list when slave labor fascism decides to smash your union for keeps. You don't have to live with slave laws. You can keep union democracy like the free ballot, and union benefits like the hiring hall and closed shop. If you fight for them, it depends only on you. It needs your steady voice. It counts on your strong will. It stands or falls on your letters, your protest, your work, your actions. It's up to you.